Hello and welcome to another video, and today I'll be covering the front line along the city of Donetsk because there's been a lot of fighting there and a lot of updates regarding certain localities and the battles over there. So I want to just talk about some of that and my predictions for what's going to happen around this sector of fighting. So there are two main areas I'm going to talk about, Marinka and Pisky. So I'm just going to get into those two. So first of all, in Marinka, I want to just go over what happened here again. I know I've talked about Marinka before, but Russia, they used to control this area, right? Like 10% of the city. They got pushed out, and now in the past few days, they've gained some ground around here, and now the Russian sources, they say that the demarcation or like dividing line between the Ukrainian and Russian troops in the town is around Drewsby Avenue, so around here, which would mean that Russia controls about 2/3 of the town itself. And according to Arestovich and a bunch of other Ukrainian sources as well, there are preparations to begin withdrawing totally from Marinka now that the dam in Marinka has been taken and most of the town itself has already fallen. It's already a futile effort. So you already had the 54th Mechanized Brigade withdraw from Marinka, as well as the 45th Battalion, and that's a part of the Donbass formation. So there's like the Donbass Battalion, which is it's made of pro-Ukrainian people from Donbass, or at least fighting in Donbass, and they have affiliations with Azov, Kraken, Right Sector, those sort of battalions. Now, we're going to see this fall, maybe today, maybe tomorrow, but very soon. And then once that happens, you're going to see an advance along here, along these bodies of water towards Hyorhivka. And I would say the goal is to reach Kurakove, which is another important formation of the AFU in Donetsk. Or they can go south and take Novomikhailivka, which is another important Ukrainian stronghold at the moment. Now, they could also go north and take this Krasnohorivka, which is already being attacked from here, from the east. So then you could have another attack from the south. And since the town is sure it's heavily fortified, but with such an overwhelming push from all sides, they'd also have to withdraw. And then you see how everything around here is just open fields. That's not good for Ukraine because like while they withdraw, the Russians, they can just like fire down artillery on them. And the major problem for Ukraine specifically on this front is the lack of counter battery. That's a major issue for them. They can't respond sufficiently to the Russian artillery. They're being outgunned by a large margin. Some Russian journalists, they said that there are 6,500 shells being launched at villages around the Donetsk city per day, and that's for like each individual village. 6,500 shells in each of those villages. So that's insane, and Ukraine just they can't respond. They were given some 120 millimeter shells, and it wasn't very effective. Their positions got destroyed in Marinka and Pesky, and they know that at this point, yeah, they've held out for a while. Their mines, their trenches, their concrete walls, everything was able to prevent Russian advances, which is something that should be studied in future wars. The sort of fortifications that Ukraine built, so you got to give them props for that. But yeah, at this point, it's been months of just constant battering of these positions. So I can understand how everything's leveled by now and there's not much to defend anymore. So you're gonna see Marinka fall soon. That's my point over there. And now in Pesky, um, Some said that it totally fell under Russian control, but journalists from yesterday that are actually on the ground with the DPR forces, they're estimating that about 60% of the entire settlement is under their control. So let's look at the dividing line. It's around here, I would say, just based on what I was reading, around this body of water, and I don't think they're in the monastery yet, but there is a lot of footage and geolocations from this area, which is what I based my map off of. So you see, most of it is already under their control, which is why, just like in Marinka, in Pesky, they're already starting to withdraw. So you have the 56th Motorized Brigade. They left Pesky already, and there are barely any civilians in the settlement, less than 20, because every single house is probably destroyed by now because of such heavy fighting, the sheer amount of shelling from this entire since the beginning of this conflict in late February. And yeah, they're going to retreat from there. And the two units that helped take Pisky are the 11th Regiment of the DPR and then the infamous Somali Battalion of the DPR. So you're going to see more of them around this sector. I would say that they're probably going to um, first secure the MO4 highway, which is this one over here. And this is a very important highway. It leads to Dnipro. It leads to all these big cities around Ukraine. And it will be the way for the people in Avdiivka to sort of retreat. They have to go like this, or like that, and then reach the road, the main road, and then like withdraw towards like Karolivka or something. So getting to this road would be a big um, thorn for Ukraine. They would have more logistical issues. They would have more problems with withdrawing from Avdiivka because they'll have to withdraw from Avdiivka, and that's a big problem because there are still 2,500 civilians in Avdiivka. So any fighting within the city itself would be very catastrophic. Not as much. Not many civilians died in Pisky, but in Avdiivka, you would see a lot of death. And by now, the troops here are very battered, and the Ukrainian high command, they're understanding that they're gonna have to withdraw. So where are they gonna leave from? That's a problem. They can leave from these open fields as I talked about before, but as I said before with Marinka, they're just gonna get shelled incessantly by the Russians, and they don't have counter battery to respond with. So that's something that they're gonna have to deal with. Perhaps they can get some shipments from the west, but it being sent all the way to this front line in time for the battles is really untenable. And then you could also see some Krasnohorivka being taken um, after the fall of Pesky, which is going to happen very soon. Maybe today it'll already fall, and then I'll have to update this video just to talk about that. So taking Pesky, which is one of the most fortified towns, would be a major victory because you don't have the same level of fortifications in other areas, and they're probably already they're going to get destroyed by the Russian artillery. So that is a big deal. And because Ukraine they can't respond effectively to the Russian artillery and to their positions, they have to shell residential areas in Donetsk. Which is why today you had a lot of shelling in the center of Donetsk. For instance, there was shelling in the funeral of a female colonel in the DPR army. Her name was Olga Kachura, and throughout that shelling there were like 4 civilians killed. So yeah, that's the most they can do now. So that's it for now, and I'll update this later.